Slingbox, cord-cutting alternatives, and other social networks. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter to keep you up on all the latest from MacVoices. Watch or listen to MacVoices straight from your email client. Sign up at macvoices.com/newsletter and stay up to date. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. The MacVoices panel takes a look at the fact that Slingbox has shut down and what it means for cord cutters, and what some alternatives might be for cord cutters. And speaking of alternatives, we take a look at some of the other social networks that you might consider if you decide to leave Twitter. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking. Next story. I'm going to put this in the chat room, and I'm going to ask Webb to talk about this because he brought this one to the table as a Sling user, and this is about the Slingbox shutting down. Webb?
Yeah, thank you. Just real quick, I don't know if it's an in-depth story, but when we can talk about it. The Slingbox was, I always described it at cocktail parties. It's a box about the size of a carton of cigarettes. You plug your cable TV in one side, you plug your internet connection in the other, and then wherever you are using your computer here, you can tie into your cable box. And that happened to me one time 12 years ago, I guess, when my wife and I got married, and we were in, just say, the other side of the planet. And we were able to tie in, watch the local TV here in Kansas City while we were in the South Pacific. So, but anyway, they announced a couple of years ago that the servers are that the Slingbox runs to, they're shutting them down, I think, at either midnight tonight or midnight tomorrow night. It all depends on how they cut where November 9th is. So the Slingbox is over. It was nice. I really liked it. But and I think that there's some technology that they designed for that's been sold or licensed, and other people are using it as far as streaming video goes. So sorry to see it go. It was nice while it lasted. Farewell, Slingbox. So
end of an era. That was one of the first real divorcing television programming from television sets. That was like one of the first companies, devices, services that would allow you to do that. Like, this is all stuff that's coming from my cable, and I'm watching it even though I don't happen to be home.
Yeah. Now if I'm out of town for something, I can still watch my local news shows if I want through the streaming side. All the TV stations stream for it.
Now, not when they started.
Yeah. But I guess one of the things that I'm really disappointed in is, the other thing that I could do was that I could tie into the DVR built in my cable box, and I could watch something that I had recorded. So that functionality goes away. I also happen to be a subscriber to YouTube TV, which is nice. I used to have a DirecTV subscription, a satellite dish on the roof of my building, and I got tired of all the carriage agreements and disagreements they got with DirecTV. So I would go to now when I go out of town and I want to see something, I'll pop up YouTube TV. But because of the carriage agreements, I have to watch the local NBC affiliate. I can't watch the one back home, which is disappointing. I understand the licensing thing, but I think they're missing out on a concept here. But anyway, that's it.
Webb, go back for just a second, because I want to make sure I understood that you said that you still have some of the capabilities through their website. Is that what I heard you say?
No, they're killing all their servers, and like I said, the Slingbox is going to be bricked. Is the best way to describe it. So
that's what I thought, but
it is no more. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any options out there that anybody has that any of us know about that would have similar functionality, short of subscribing to something like YouTube TV or any of those services?
I'd like to know too, because it's I've been shopping around for it since I switched internet providers, and didn't switch yet, but there's there doesn't seem like there's a lot out there that you can really, switch very easily.
Isn't that a licensing issue?
I think
it can
so.
be.
I think it is.
It depends on the part you're looking for. So if it's, I want live TV, I want live local news.
And I want to push it to wherever I'm going.
Right.
The first thing to do is look for, because I've helped a couple of people do this, figure out recently if they could cancel cable or if they could, reduce the amount that they had or, watch it someplace else. The first thing is to figure out what it is you're trying to watch. And if it's local news, two different, I know at least two, but I think at least three of the local stations here in Portland have an iOS app or a portion of their website where you can load up the website and see the live local stuff. You can't watch primetime programming from the NBC affiliate, but in the morning when they do the morning news and it's the local news anchors and the local weather guy and the person they send out to do the little remote video stuff, you can watch that on the website all the time. And some have an app, some have a Roku channel or an Apple TV channel. There's at least a couple I know that if you go search the 4 letters for the station that you're looking for in many app stores and things, there's those.
And a lot of them stream on YouTube too.
Yeah, and there's a fair number of them you can get that way with varying levels of payment. Some are no payment, some are part of YouTube TV. And then if what you want is just I want to access everything I have on my DVR, be it TiVo or something from the cable company. A lot of them have that cloud component now, like the Comcast one, a thing I keep meaning to talk about here, is a fully functioning DVR within the app that you can install on your Apple TV if you are so inclined. That totally works.
I just used it when I was traveling, so it works great.
Yeah.
The other thing is
set it up to record. You can set it up to record and all of that too. And if really what you want is there's 3 there's 3 shows I like to watch, that's a very different endeavor. If it's not the local part or the live part necessarily that you care about, there are different solutions for that. So that part is interesting.
Yeah.
The only thing that I miss is being a Kansas City Chiefs fan, go figure. Go Patrick Mahomes. But when I'm out of town, I might not be in a market that's showing the game that I want to watch, the football game. So, that's kind of another thing, but it's still a different slice of the same issue. So
at least you got lucky this week because they were on Sunday night. So it was interesting to see how that worked because I did, sitting in my room, I was watching the game, the Kansas City Chiefs game. It was a Sunday night on NBC. I go to the guide and it brings up my local channel in Chicago and I click it and then, it works. I'm able to watch the game because I think they allow for the national coverage to be able to watch it through that app. But then when all the breaks came on, it was all the Las Vegas advertising, of course, all the political garbage that was for all the candidates. So and even when I wanted to see afterwards, I after the game ended, it went right to their local news on Las Vegas. So they do have some interesting ways of doing it. So I did put a link in our private chat here about a site called News On, which is an app that if you really want to watch a lot of local stations, they have quite a catalog of local stations around the country. And I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City and a few Chicago and a lot of the other ones around the country are in there you can watch. So for those who want to watch local news, sometimes it's interesting to see what they cover in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
Patrick who?
Mahomes.
Oh,
the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I know. I'm not clueless. I'm disappointed that you didn't jump me. Hey, Jeff has to cut out. He's going to go talk to our friends at the Mac and Tech user group in a few minutes. So, Jeff, thanks for being here, even if it's for only part of the show. And thank you so much for the information on the Pantone and all. I'm really glad you were here to clear that up.
Very enlightening.
And, at some point, if you want to talk about the brain damage that dropping PostScript for OpenType only support in Adobe's apps has been, we can do that too.
I that's a little scary, but I'll put it on the list. Before you go, where can folks find you when you're not here explaining Pantone and color matching to the rest of us?
Twitter, as long as it's still here, Instagram, and I guess now I should roll in Mastodon.social. I'm Jay Gamut on basically everything. YouTube.com/Jay Gamut. Here with you most Tuesdays, with Dave on most Thursdays for In Touch with iOS, the Big Show on Thursdays, the Mac Show on Fridays, and then the Context Machine. I'm kind of like busy, I guess, online. And Kelly, since you weren't here right at the beginning, you missed my my new iPhone camera mount for my computer. I'm going to be showing it off tonight when I demo continuity camera for the Mac and Tech user group. Ooh. Yes. I totally built my own.
Hashtag branding.
Okay.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. Hey, thanks so much, Jeff. Tell the folks
Jeff.
at Mac and Tech we said hello.
Please.
I will do that. And it's been so much fun hanging out with all of you. And now I'll go hang out with the user group. So see you later.
Take care. Chat room is still debating. There was a service, Brian and I think it was out of New York. That was.
I want to say it was called Sphero, and I know it's not Sphero, but it was like a name like that.
Yeah, it was something. We know it wasn't Locast.
Yeah, but I remember it because I remember being very invested in its success because I really want to stop paying Comcast, and I cannot remember what it was called, but it was. I want to say it started with an S, and it was like Sphero, something like it, and I just remember like talking to them very much on various social media channels and going, please let me have this. Please come to Oregon. Please. And I think somebody found out they were doing something good for customers and put the skids to it.
I think Brett has it. It's Aero, AEREO or Aereo, something like that.
Aereo. Yes.
I think you're right.
Brett, you win.
That's it.
People's ovation and glory forever. Tonight, it is all yours.
And
that might be gone too.
Oh, I think that is gone.
Oh yeah,
that was before Locast.
Yeah. It was definitely pre-Locast.
Yeah, and Fubo, I think I pronounced that right. FUBO TV.
That's around.
That's
Fubo's
around.
a going concern. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah,
that's actually very popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's not quite. It's sort of the same, but not exactly quite. So
yeah.
Well, it doesn't have it. It's not necessarily the recording piece of it, but Fubo as a service, depending where you live and what you want, is a good sports option if you don't have
Fubo's
one for what you want. Because my dad, we talked about it before. My dad is the person who's looking to do to have live sports, but not a cable subscription. And with Fubo, he's able to get Root Sports Northwest, which has both the Blazers and the Mariners, which is what he wants. And then if he wants to watch the Seahawks as an option, he has that too.
Cool.
So for people playing along at home, that's NBA basketball, and that's NFL football, and then also a baseball team. All three of the ones that we have here right now, in the upper left, those are the three that my dad wants to watch. And Fubo is the way that he's probably going to be able to get a hold of all three of them easily. Yes, he could go get the individual thing for each of those to watch those games, but if he uses this, it gives him the opportunity to watch some of the other games as well. So he can see, some of the other baseball games or some of the other football games and see who some of the competition and watch general live sport. So, yeah.
Yep. Next story, and the link I have, I just realized I'm going to throw it in anyway for those of you who are New York Times subscribers.
It's probably
but it is behind a paywall. But it's not going to be a big surprise to you that the next topic has to do with Twitter and everything. And Eric brought this in. So I'm kind of curious to see, Eric, what your thoughts are, because the big story here, there are a couple stories going on. First of all the conflicting things, decisions, and things are coming out of Twitter. But more importantly is at least I think, is the people that are doing just what Jeff did. They're maybe not necessarily leaving Twitter, but they are opening accounts in other social media platforms. Eric, I think if I remember correctly, you are already on Mastodon before this big exit occurred?
Kind of. I've sort of been kind of playing around with it. I'm not totally comfortable with it. It's taken sort of a while to get used to the parts I like and the parts that I don't. It's a mistake to think that it's just another Twitter, because it's totally different. There are parts of it that are kind of what I really wish Twitter was, but the nice thing with Twitter is you've got all the people, gazillions of people all over the planet, all talking about whatever it is that occurs to them at any second of the day. As soon as you hit Mastodon, it's a lot more. It's kind of like having a bunch of different communities. It's like moving into a new community you've never been in before, and with different neighbors, and kind of getting to meet them. In some of the places, someone trots out with dessert and says, "Hey, try this." And, "Oh, you should go meet this person and this other person." And other spots, everyone's really occupied with something you have absolutely no interest in. It took me a little while to realize that you don't want to jump in and just follow a whole pile of people. There's sort of different strategies to get similar information. You also don't need to sign up for piles of different accounts on different servers. Just pick one, and then you slowly can kind of bring everything to you. Keywords are a lot more important. Liking something doesn't really do much other than let somebody know you liked it. If you kind of resend it, retransmit, whatever, share an item, that has an effect. So it's sort of a different way of thinking about things. It took me a long time to figure out how to send somebody a link to kind of get them to the right spot. And kind of a nice strategy I've seen is people adding links to Mastodon from Twitter. So you hang on to a Twitter presence, you still kind of are there, you can still check in and get some of the benefits, but then you go back home to your local community to have chats and discussions. It's kind of like going out to a local bar or a local community building or a book club or whatever. And the discussions are a little bit more on topic, a little quieter, a little more contained, with fewer random people just dropping in to yell at you for no apparently good reason. There have been huge changes just because of the sheer number of people all of a sudden showing up in like 1 or 2 weeks, which mean that responsiveness on the servers have been a little bit slow. New users kind of being dumped into the deep end and trying to figure out what the heck is going on. There's a lot of that, but that also means that many people are in the same boat, so it's kind of a nice time to experiment, as long as you don't get frustrated kind of while things work out. Let's see, the comments I've seen a lot of over the last few days have been, finding a smaller server with fewer people on it, so it's a little bit more responsive. Different servers have different capabilities. Some of them, they've kind of got the baseline capabilities of you can post and you can share and you can find stuff from other servers and reshare that. But some servers have additional capabilities, a little bit easier to quote something somebody else said and add to it, or maybe a couple of features that you might have thought you wanted still from Twitter. I can't think of a good example right now, but there are some subtle differences. There also are a bunch of different apps. So if you want to try and get an app for the phone, there's kind of the Mastodon baseline one, but then there are a bunch of third-party ones. I'm still kind of getting used to it. It's early for me, even though I've been there for months. I'm by no means an expert, but I have enjoyed being there. So
it's interesting to hear you talk through it a little bit, because it's been one of my frustrations. I've been on Mastodon for quite a while. Haven't spent a lot of time exploring it just because, there were other theoretically more popular options. But one of the frustrating things I found pretty much off the bat was, as you said, logging in different servers. They're all Mastodon servers, so you would kind of think that there would be some kind of uniformity, and there really doesn't seem to be. And the subscribing to somebody on server Q when I'm on server M gets weird. And so, I hope that I hope they can make it a little more clear about how to go about some of this. And if anybody out there knows of a really good Mastodon primer, I would love to, give it some publicity, because so far I haven't found one. It's really interesting. How many people here have a Mastodon account or are on Mastodon? 3 of us.
I got my account in 2018.
Okay. I don't even know when mine is. But David, you don't have one? I thought you were on.
I thought I had one, but I can't seem to find the password. And when I put my email in, it doesn't come back. So
we were talking about this pre-show because I'm having sort of the same problem. I'm logged in through Safari into the service, okay? But when I go to a completely separate page and try to log in, it doesn't take my password. It's not sending me a password reset. And I think Eric's advice was just hang on for a little while because they may be inundated. So I'm not going to, panic yet. But that theoretically means I could lose my account if I can't reset the password to something that I know what it is, even though there's absolutely no reason it should not be the same, because Safari logs me in automatically. So figure it out.
You lost me in another area. I try to sign in again. And I won't be the only person that's like, nope. What
do you mean, nope?
You go to a different area, a different server, and you're logging in again. Even if it saved my credentials, no. Well, is that really what's happening?
Yes and no, because there's a couple of things that are fundamentally different about Mastodon versus Twitter. And one of them is Twitter is one platform, like Facebook. Like, let's go back to our earlier topic of TV. Everybody's watching the same channel. We all have one channel. That's Twitter. We're all watching one channel. Whatever show is on, that's what we're watching. Can't record it for later. Nothing. Like, this is what's happening. It's this channel right here, right now. That's what you get. And Mastodon makes it so that anyone can start their own channel. And I could watch this one or this one or this one or this one. And maybe the one I want to watch is the one about astronauts. Maybe the one I want to watch is the one about Deadpool, whatever. You can choose, you can pick and choose. And part of the reason that you want to pick one that may not be one of the great big ones is because then there are certain, like, you can sort of take a peek around the server that you're on. And so, like, there's one that's specifically for people who are journalists. There's one that's specifically for bots, like if you want to follow Twitter bots. There's one that's specifically for different sorts of things. And so if you like that, it's a lot like what hashtags sort of did on Twitter, where, book Twitter's all mad about a thing. Film Twitter's all mad about a thing. You would hear phrases like this, like librarian Twitter, which is actually a thing, is all worked up about something, which is also a thing that happens. And those are like, like that can be its own server. So like, I'm a librarian and I want to go find other librarians. I can do that. It just sort of helps get, I know it sounds like a really weird hurdle, but it does help get started, to start with. Not that any of us, and I can say this to you, Brittany, not that any of us would have the attention span or the patience to do it, but if there were to be a neurodiversity server, there could be one, and it could be mastodon.squirrels, and like we could all go there and hang out, and if we could find anybody that had an extra stash of extended release Adderall so that they could maintain the server, we'd be set. But like, that's one of the things that makes it nice. And like, on the one hand, go to Twitter and push yes, here's my phone number, and now I have a Twitter account, and now I can go help burn things down, which is most of what is happening on Twitter now. Anyway, like, the barrier of entry to Twitter is very, very low because, again, everyone's watching the same channel. And that's the part that sort of makes Twitter frustrating. And also because then it's also not like there's no moderation on any of that. So most servers that are out there for Mastodon have at least one moderator. And if it stands to reason that every server has at least one moderator, even if that person was pressed into service and doesn't want to do it, that's still way more people than are doing moderation at Twitter. So
there's conversations anyway.
Right.
So Kelly, are you saying that in your example, I think you called them channels, are like groups in Facebook? Is that sort of
Sort
of? Okay.
Sort of. A better example would be Slack. Like, there is a MacVoices Slack, and let's say there's an In Touch with iOS Slack, and let's say there's an ADHD Slack, and there's a print shop in the basement Slack for Webb and his posse. Then, like, everybody's using Slack. Slack works the same for all of us. We all get the same Slack experience in that here's the app, here's the thing on mobile. It's different.
You just gave the example of the worst program to log into in like the history of programs that have been successful.
Oh, I have Slack? A whole lot of things to say about Slack that even in After Dark, Chuck would be like, that's some awfully strong language. But using, I don't mean logging in. I just like take the account creation piece out of it. Like, there is a MacVoices Slack. It has channels. It has direct messages. The way that you interact with the MacVoices Slack would be the same mechanisms that you would use. They would be different channels and different people, but you would use those same mechanisms on the neurodiversity Slack, on the print shop in the basement Slack, on the In Touch with iOS Slack. It's a familiar experience. And actually Slack is sort of a good example for this. It's probably one of the only things Slack has done, it would be serving well at doing, is you can invite people from other Slacks into your Slack, and it's the same communication experience. There are channels, there are direct messages, you can @, people, everyone has a profile. All of that is a similar experience regardless of which server it is that your account came from. That's like the easiest way I can describe it. The details of it get sticky and can get boring and can get complicated. So Oprah's not going to be on Mastodon anytime soon. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. But one of the things that I've really appreciated about dusting off my account and going over there and checking it out is that it really, really reminds me of Twitter when it first started, like 13, 12, like, I don't even remember how long ago it was, but like 15 years ago when I got on Twitter and was like, this might be fun. It's like text messaging with a bunch of people all at the same time. That was great. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about Mastodon is that right now there's not a ton of people, and the people that are there, a lot of them are familiar. Like all of the people that I really cared about missing if I were to leave Twitter entirely are all showing up on Mastodon and micro.blog and all those kinds of things. And Chuck, I'm sure there's lots of opportunities for you to have people on to talk about this kind of stuff. But there are definitely alternatives out there. And it's one of those things where like you may need to have a certain amount of knowledge, but that amount of knowledge is about this much. And like most people, and I mean people, I don't mean like panelists or nerds or, my personal people. I mean, like in the world of people with whom I have regular contact who ask me questions about things, virtually all of them, if there was something on Twitter that they appreciated or something on Facebook even that they appreciated as far as like an interactivity level with a group of people, they would be able to do this because you don't have to know how to run a Mastodon server in order to have an account, just like you don't have to be able to code a Twitter app in order to use Twitter.
I just went on to try to create an account while you're all talking about this right now. And I got this message of, do you want to create it in this server or a different server? And I said, no.
Right. So sit down with, like,
I don't want to have to choose this first. I just wanted to create an account.
And this is the part that I think is going to hurt Mastodon is say what you will about Twitter and say what you will even about Facebook. At least you can kind of understand the basic operation without a lot of trouble. I mean, this feels a little bit more geek oriented, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just going to be hard for it to replace Twitter.
Yeah, and it's also going to be join this as opposed to I'm going to join a particular group, a particular Slack, a particular Discord. Because I didn't go over there to join a particular server. By the way, if somebody wants to invite me to one that you think I would enjoy, by all means, because this nonsense of pick one, I did not understand or want to engage with. It was just like how much effort do I want to put into this thing I don't really want to be on in the first place? I guess I'm not going to do it.
It's just Web has some breaking news for us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did while we were here, and CNBC reported that Elon Musk just sold 19.5 million shares of Tesla to raise $3.95 billion. They also other places they've announced this. His other equity partners include Binance, which is if you know, you know, Ron Barron's Bamco, Andreessen Horowitz. We all remember Mark Andreessen. Yeah. Jack Dorsey is part of the new ownership group, and Prince Alawi bin Talal blah 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 from Saudi Arabia. So he does have a lot of money behind him too. But I just thought it was interesting. He raised $4 billion tonight. So.
Is it really a surprise, Webb? I mean, he didn't win the Powerball, so he had to do something.
No, well, yeah, and that it's not a surprise. And he said he was going to do it. We all knew that he was going to have to liquidate something. But and then how they do that is that when he makes a big move like that, he has to file what they call a Form D with the SEC, and says what he's doing, why he's doing it, so the stock market doesn't take a shock for it. So anyway, there's your news headlines for you.
Yeah, that's important stuff. This MacVoices Live discussion continues as the panel talks more Mastodon, Micro.blog, and some other lesser-known alternatives. That's next time on MacVoices. We'll see you then. I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.